This video covers the special transportation procedures required for students with disabilities when that disability requires some type of accommodation within their transportation. These guidelines were put together as a result of 4 different federal regulations, rules, and guideline documents that require that we have these procedures in place. So how Southern Plains has gone about this is we have created a form which is required to guide you in that communication. The form is called the Special Transportation Request Form, and this form is a tool for the IEP team to communicate with MARS personnel and transportation personnel. It is required that MARS receive a specific document to guide them in their communication so that the MARS people are only claiming students with special transportation written onto their IEP as special transportation in MARS. The transportation personnel also need to have a guiding document in order to inform them because the federal government is concerned otherwise that parents will just contact the transportation company and set up that transportation, which actually does happen on some occasions. So that's why it's important that the transportation personnel actually receive this form. Another reason why this form is needed is that anybody who's doing that transportation must know if there is any kind of accommodation, medical condition, behavioral condition that requires that the transportation personnel know that information in order to transport the student safely. As a result of all of this need of communication, this is the form that was developed. So how that works is if the IEP team anticipates that special transportation may be discussed at the meeting, if it's going to be adding special transportation or revising it in some way, the case manager should call the transportation personnel prior to that IEP meeting and give them as much notice as possible. The transportation people have a very difficult time getting all of those routes set and specific directions within a very short period of time. So it's important that you're communicating with them and they may have a different way to look at it and see if we can come up with something else. If special transportation is needed, this is an IEP team decision. There are several reasons why students may need special transportation. One might be to access a program, such as if the student were attending one of the programs in Winnebago, or if the student was attending ECSE programming. If that is the case, it would be important for the IEP team to document that on the IEP. In this box, they would click yes, and then they would identify in that box why that is. And particularly for ECSE, it is important to talk about not just what happens during ECSE, but once the student transitions out of ECSE, what, if any, special transportation will be needed. For all other reasons, it's important that we're always looking at the least restrictive environment. So if a student is having, say, a behavioral issue on the bus, it would be important that we would try other alternatives and interventions prior to placing that student in a special transportation situation. But we would want to look and see if there are other things that can be done. But occasionally a student does need special transportation. If so, some of those might be an adapted vehicle some type, such as a lift, special seating, a seatbelt, something that way. It might be special staff, which is often what many of our students have, is that they're on an alternate route of some kind, and then there is also a staff member that would ride with on that vehicle. Sometimes there may also be a need for some special transportation that may not actually need special transportation. It may be that the student, the bus driver just needs to know that the student has an allergy or a behavioral issue or communication need of some type. And then we would still use this form, but call it regular route, and then identify that information in here so that the bus driver knows that information, and there's still that means of communication. Again, you're going to document any special transportation that is provided right here in the special transportation box. You're going to put what special transportation is needed and why that is needed. I will often see that it just states the student needs special transportation. Well, that really does not help if a student moves to a new district to know what type of transportation that needs and why is that. You would only address this if this transportation is needed before or after school. If for some reason a student participates in a job program or something that way, that happens during the school day, that does not go in this box. Again, then after the IEP meeting, when the team decides this, the team would document it on the IEP, and then they would complete this form and send a copy of that to the transportation personnel and the MARS personnel. We do keep this on the Southern Plains website and try to keep it as updated as possible. And the original of the form would go in the special education file as well. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to call. Thanks a lot.